Good evening. This is See More Clearly, giving you the insight to help you see more clearly. Grandparents, birthday cards, Christmas presents, and a mean batch of Scoochie bars. But are they more? Tonight we'll be looking on the effects of grandparents and what they do to help our lives.
One thing I really love about Grandma is that she really loves to help people. Whether it's volunteering at Love Inc. or working at Unity, it just gives her joy to help people.
One thing I remember about Grandma and Grandpa is always seeing them in the airport and running up and giving them a big hug. That was just really cool.
One thing I remember about Grandpa and Grandma was in high school when I would fly back to Michigan early, alone, just me and them. And I really appreciated having the breakfast with them in the mornings. There was always way more selection and quality jam and toast and eggs and anything I wanted at breakfast. And that was just always good because breakfast is usually a simple meal, but the fact that we just had kind of a special breakfast every time I was there and had lots of options and lots to choose from was one thing I appreciated.
So, something I really like about Grandpa is that at a really young age he knew he wanted to be a pastor. One time Grandma told me that he left his relatives downstairs, went upstairs to write a sermon. He didn't know who he was going to be giving it to, but he wrote it, and that's really cool. I really like this because I want to be a pastor when I grow up, and I have to write sermons every week too. I think that's really cool.
Another thing I remember about Grandma and Grandpa is going out last winter with them to go shopping and eat breakfast. That was really cool because we could have some really cool conversations, and I could share things about my life with them.
One thing I really like about Grandpa is that he doesn't like peanut butter. Neither do I. It's disgusting. He's definitely my grandpa.
One cool thing that I really liked about Grandma is when I was younger, when we would go to Michigan, I would always wake up, hurry upstairs, and go and sit on her lap so she could read me a book. That was really cool.
Also, I always appreciated just hanging out and watching the news with Grandpa in Grandma's chair and getting back rubs and shoulder rubs from Grandma while all of us were watching the news in the evening. That was always a lot of fun. And one thing, as I look back, I always just really appreciated about those trips to Michigan.
If you love the gooey consistency of peanut butter, then you'll love sticky peanut butter. There's nothing like getting a big helping of sticky to make anything taste better. Love that sticky. Looks great for spatulas too.
I also remember that when I was younger, I would go into the church when we went to Hillcrest, go to Grandpa's office and get some Tic Tacs. That was really cool just to do after the services.
The really cool thing about Grandma and Grandpa is that they always pay for me if I get good grades. Hey, speaking of which, I got good grades this trimester.
Even though Grandpa doesn't like peanut butter, he's still a good guy because he has a good sense of humor.
One thing I remember about Grandpa and Grandma, all the card games and the rummy that we would play, and how I was always very victorious in all of those card games.
Grandparents. They have more than just grandkids. They're also apparently parents and have a huge effect on the real lives of their children.
One memory I have as a kid is when we would play football in the side yard in our house in Jenison. My mom would always make football pads, shoulder pads for us. Those were basically old car towels that she would stuff inside our sweatshirts over our shoulders. But they made us look so buff, and we thought we were so big. And of course, about every couple of plays we had to readjust the shoulder pads because they were sliding around. But we had shoulder pads playing football, and that was cool.
I think I married pretty well and got myself some pretty nice in-laws. One thing I really appreciate about my mom is how much room she has for other people. I remember when I was the other people, and we would sit down at the kitchen table over iced tea and cookies, and she would just have room to listen and to talk. And I see that in her life, that she has room for people, that she is there to listen, to help, and has a genuine concern for others. One thing I really appreciate about Dad is he helped bring my husband to me. He was my pastor, and with the pastors came his family. And my husband, even though he was wearing some pretty geeky looking glasses, was the one I pointed to in the picture. Then Dad was also serving as my pastor during the years when my faith really came to life. And it's cool that God used him in that way, because I remember just being held by those messages on Sundays.
Another thing that was cool is we had an ice rink in our side yard when we lived in Lansing, in the Chicago area. I don't know that I know anybody else who had an ice rink in their backyard, but we had our whole side yard converted into one. And basically it was because my folks helped us pack down all the snow and get it all ready. And then layer after layer after layer of ice went on with a garden hose. And that couldn't have been a whole lot of fun, but it was really fun for us to have that ice rink.
I'm not really a cook, but I can follow a recipe. But I found out early on, don't ask Mom for the recipe. You see, Mom is a cook, but she doesn't follow recipes. So it's just kind of fun to see how things turn out. And the food's always good, and the love is always shown.
Several times in recent years, Mom and Dad have been visiting us over Thanksgiving. And in Sacramento, Thanksgiving is a huge day because there's the Run to Feed the Hungry with, like, I don't know how many thousands and thousands and thousands of people. 5K, 10K run, walk, big event. Mom fixes this great Thanksgiving dinner, and so she's doing all this dinner work while we're out with other people from church doing this really cool event. We come home, the house smells great, and that's just really been a good thing. Any Thanksgiving Mom wants to visit us is fine. I know on a lot of vacations when I was a kid, we would go in the mountains somewhere and we would hike. It was so cool to hike with a big walking stick and having a backpack and as many things as you could have in your backpack so you felt like you were really doing it. And that was just really good to do that. I do remember we never hiked far enough. I always wanted to hike harder or farther, which I now see in my own son as his own kind of impatience with that. But it was very cool to have a chance to hike like that.
It's brighter in the west. It's become a family phrase, and it originated with Mom. It shows her positive outlook on life, because whether it truly is getting brighter in the west, or whether more rain clouds are coming, Mom has a way of seeing the positive in any situation. I saw that for real last summer when she struggled so much with her hip, and even in the midst of some very trying and painful circumstances, she saw how God was using it and was able to use that time to grow herself and to share a little bit of God's grace and how He works with others too.
A couple of years ago when Mom and Dad were out here visiting us over Thanksgiving, I think, I got to sail overnight with Dad. We went out to the boat, we sailed, we went to Sausalito, had dinner there, and just spent an overnight together in the boat. And that was just such a cool memory. And I'm really glad we could do that.
One little thing I appreciate about Dad is that he tears up easily. That may seem insignificant, but whenever that happens, it usually is connected to family, and it just shows me how deeply he cares for us.
Young man, Howie. A young woman, Ellie. Which led to a young family with 3 young boys, which led to all this, a new generation. Thank you for all you've done, and happy anniversary. This is See More Clearly, helping you to see more clearly.
And yeah, I love you guys, and I'm bummed that I can't be there, but I know you guys will still have a good time and a good celebration without me. See you guys. Love you. Bye.